Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. RealitySpirituality. It's the new experience. RealitySpirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. RealitySpirituality. You got a question for RLN? RealitySpirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. RealitySpirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. RealitySpirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. RealitySpirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Well. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, Rebecca L. Norrington, and I am the world's only, yes, you know what, I'm going to start saying only happiness specialist, because quite frankly, we all are as unique as our fingerprints, and we all have put our, and we all have, let me say this, and we all have something to contribute. All of us are gifts to this planet, every single one of us, and we all have something to contribute. The question becomes, what are you contributing? What are you contributing to this planet? And I have to tell you something. I have to share something. You know, I hear a lot of, I want the world better, I want to change the world. Well, you can change the world by changing yourself. You can change your world. You can change the world just by staying at home. It is a vibrational change. It is an energy change. It is a shift of perspective. You can do that, and all you need to do is practice. If you've listened to the show, first of all, thank you for listening, and welcome to all my new listeners, and hello again to all my other listeners that have heard me forever. You're still here with me. Thank you for that. Today's show, and I'm going to, if you know, somebody can get off into a tangent, because this topic, the topic of happiness, is my passion. It is my destiny. It is my purpose to teach people how to experience more happiness regardless of what life throws at you, regardless of what happens, and regardless of what doesn't happen. In fact, let me just give you my definition of happiness. It is to be able to be at peace, to feel peace, to vibrate peace, regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen. And I'm talking about, when I say happen, I'm talking about external things. I'm talking about the ups and downs of life. I'm talking about the roller coaster that this life is. Because just because I'm a happiness specialist, people don't think that I'm not practicing this stuff all the time and every single moment. Every moment. And in fact, I'm going to share a very, very personal story that just happened this week. And the show is called Reality Spirituality for a reason, because it's really about everyday situations, everyday circumstances. I'm talking about from somebody ignoring you, quote unquote, somebody being rude, all of the labels we put on the other people, all of the labels we put on the people. You know how we love to focus on what's wrong with them, what's wrong with everybody else, right? What's wrong with the world, right? The focus. So today's show is about 3 separate and unique topics. And it's all going to tie in, because on this show, what I share, being a happiness specialist, what I share is how to experience more happiness in your life, the definition of happiness, which we already did, how to be happy regardless of what happens to you, and why happiness is so important. Now, I think happiness is number one. I think it's number one. From a scale of 1 to 10, it's always number 10. But what I've discovered is happiness and peace, and it's the same thing. Happiness, peace, contentment, this inner feeling of while you're navigating through life, your shoulders are down, you're relaxed, you're balanced, there's no such thing as stress, there's no such thing as anxiety, all there is trust and surrendering. How about that one? Trust and surrendering. The only reason why people worry is because they don't trust. So I think happiness is important, but you know what? You might not. And that's okay, too. The other thing I share on this show, is we're going to talk about this today, is what behaviors to avoid that subtract from your happiness and what behaviors that add to your happiness. And this is all of programming, people. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you believe the stories. It's not your fault that you believe what you've been told, what you've been taught. So it's really an unlearning of what you learned about happiness. And how you can choose your perspective in any separate moment. I get so wound up over this. Separate wasn't the right word. In any moment. How to choose your perspective in any moment. Whew. But before I go on, let me do a little bit of business. Yes, I am available for seminars, for weekend retreats, and we're also going to be having one-on-one retreats at a very, very undisclosed location somewhere in Southern Oregon. Invitation only, that's right. So you can contact me on Facebook, Reality Spirituality, or Twitter, RLN. What is it? What is my Twitter? Hold on a second. I know my Twitter. It's RLN. Hold on a second. Where's my Twitter? Oh, yes. RL Norrington. That's my Twitter. Oh, my goodness. One of those days, one of those mornings. Or my email is info@RebeccaNorrington.com. info@RebeccaNorrington.com. But here we go. Let's start the show. Let's get into the topics. I've been teaching the Truth About Happiness classes. I'm going on my 4th year. I taught the classes in California for 3 years, and now I'm in Oregon, and I'm teaching the class, The Truth About Happiness. And one of the things that I shared just this week, this stuff is reality, spirituality, it's in the moment, was about practicing changing your perspective. In other words, when you are in whatever you want to define it. Oh, by the way, there are people in the queue. If you want to speak with me or if you want to ask a question, all you need to do is call into area code 646-564-9619, area code 646-564-9619. And press the number 1, and then you'll be able to talk to me live. Unless you just want to listen. Here we go. I don't know about you, but I was not taught to change your perspective if I felt bothered, worried, sad, whatever negative emotion you want to put on there. I was not taught to change a perspective. And let me share with you how the practice of changing your perspective, especially when you're not feeling, let's just say, all connected to the universe. Those times when universe, why is this happening? What are you talking about? I don't like this. The times of resistance, the times of non-acceptance, the times when you really wish things were different. Those times, when you practice changing your perspective in any present moment, your energy shifts. And let me give you an example. I was talking to my class. We were sharing just this last week about good and bad and situations, events in history that of course, the human race labels good or bad. Here we go. Holocaust, bad. Slavery, bad. Now, I'm throwing that out not to be insensitive or flip or any of that stuff. I'm trying to make a point with the concept of changing a perspective. So I asked my class this. Now, there were just a few people in the class because some people were on vacation, but I asked my class this just last week, and I said, and I might have shared this already on another show, but we get new listeners all the time, so here we go. And this is the question to you, my dear audience. Can you sit and feel out anything good, okay? Anything good, and I'm speaking with scratch all of that. Question still remains, can you find anything good about slavery? It's the same thing. Can you find anything good about a tsunami? Can you find anything good about 9/11? Can you find anything good about slavery? And I'm using slavery because this was not my idea. This was not my idea. This was not my revelation. Not revelation. This was not my connected experience. It came from someone else. It came from I'm gonna call him my spiritual cousin. How's that? My spiritual cousin, my spiritual brother. Let's just throw that out. Because when I use the word soulmate, people are, ooh, soulmate, romantic. No, this is my spiritual brother. We were together in another lifetime, and we're together now. And so we exchange ideas all the time, and we exchange messages that each of us, when I say messages, I'm talking about direction, inspiration that we get from the universe. And now I say the word universe. Some people say God. Some people say higher power, source. It doesn't matter the term. For me, it's the same thing. He shared this perspective, and he calls it ancestors. So he was sharing this perspective with me. This was, a couple of years ago. And he said his ancestors he was having a conversation with his ancestors. Okay, come on. Yes, we're all crazy here. Crazy is the new normal. And his one ancestor said, was reflecting on slavery. Specifically, he was in Africa. And he said, when they came to take me with the chains, and they had the chains ready, the ball and chains, and get into the boat, and they didn't even know where they were going over to America to be slaves. When they came to take me, I told them, no, you will not need chains for me. You will not need a whip. You will not need chains. I will go willingly. I will leave my home, and I will go willingly on the boat. You don't have to lock me up. I'm fine. I'm good. Okay, this is coming from a person who is going to be enslaved in another country. But prior to that, he said, I could have been a woman too. I'm okay. You don't have to, no forcing me. I'm ready to walk. I'm ready to skip and run on the boat. Now, why would this future slave say that? Staying with the concept of changing your perspective and finding something good in slavery. Why would he say that? Well, his response was because I know that my descendants are going to have a better life. I know that my descendants is better or let's say more experienced life, exposed to more things, more. From a slave in the 1800s. The 1800s. I was so bad with history. A long time ago to now. So that particular person said, no, I go willingly because I'm thinking about my descendants. And their life is going to be much richer, much fuller in another land. And now he's talking about decades and decades after he's already gone. So that is another change of perspective. And listen to this one. I asked that same question in my class, and there was one student who instantly, I said, can you find anything good in slavery, with slavery? And instantly that student said, because obviously he or she practices changing perspectives and looking at the world differently than the majority of people do, and they said, yes, now we have jazz. Now we have blues. It was the birth of jazz. It was the birth of blues. It was the birth of gospel. So the focus was off the slavery, but to the creation of what evolved after that or during that time. But that is a practice, my dear audience. Changing your perspectives is a practice. Anytime you're feeling whatever that, the opposite of light, the opposite of relax, the opposite, anytime you're feeling that, if you get into practicing, and I know I've talked about it before, but practicing changing your perspective, and let me share with you a personal story that just happened to me last week. My only son is in another state working. And his dad and I mean, we're good friends. He's like my brother. We're really good friends, and every month, my ex-husband, my son's dad, we send money to help with the insurance, medical insurance. Don't even get me started with the medical insurance in this country right now. So as an only child, we have both agreed to whatever the monthly premiums, we are splitting it in half, and we are paying that for our only son. Now, every single month that I send a text, Dad sends a text, and we say, the money's in your account, the money for the insurance is in your account. Every single month, our son, our only son, sends a text back to say thanks. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. My son ignores a lot of my texts, but he ignores some of my texts. Sometimes he doesn't listen to my voice messages, and that's all okay. But this particular when we send this text of, okay, the money's in the account, and we do it every month, he always responds, thank you, Mom and Dad. Always. Well, this particular time, it was close to the beginning. In fact, it was the 5th or the 4th of November, and we both deposited the money, and there was no text back. There wasn't a thank you. There wasn't an acknowledgement. There was nothing. And that's just not the norm. It's just not. Our son is very, very thankful and always thanks us. But for some reason, he wasn't thanking. Now, couple that with he's in another state. So he's not at home where he lives. He's not home. He's away from home. He's away from home. Now, it's 10 o'clock when I send the text, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and he's working, and I said, okay, maybe he didn't see it, he's busy. Well, now when it gets closer to, and of course it's a time change, now when it gets closer to 6 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock in the evening, my energy is, what's going on here? This isn't normal. I mean, come on. If you're a parent, you get it. But here I am, a happiness specialist who doesn't practice worrying. I practice trusting. So I really don't worry. I mean, this kid has gone all over from out of the country, and I don't do that. Well, call me when you get there. We just don't do that. But for some reason, the universe wanted to tweak and ask me, and really, do you really trust? Do you really trust? What if your boy? What if something happened? Something had to have happened. Now it's 9 o'clock at night. You're talking almost 12 hours where I haven't heard a thank you from my only son, my only child. And this happiness specialist was going through some angst, anxiety. Where is he? Even to the point of, because it's not his practice. It wasn't normal. Even to the point of checking on social media the last time he posted anything. And I didn't really tell him all this stuff. Actually, I don't even think I told him the story. But I'm telling you. I looked on his social media. I looked on the Facebook. I looked on Instagram. And he hadn't posted for over 20 hours either. Oh, now it's taking me back. And I remember sitting and thinking about, I wouldn't be the only mother that has lost a child. I mean, my ego, and it is ego, because that ego really, listen, I've been starving my ego for so long, but boy, oh boy, did it came out full blown. My ego, the ego always gives us the problems. The ego always spots like what's wrong. The ego always spots on the focuses on the negative. The ego always makes me feel bad for anything it can. So I'm sitting there, and I remember feeling more tense, tighter, more anxious, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I wouldn't be the only mother, and what, I'm a happiness specialist, and now what? Now what? And I go through my whole thing. I go through I trust. I know I trust. I have evidence of all my life that I've trusted, that the universe has me, serving me for my betterment. I know all of that. I practice all of that. But for some reason, the universe, because everything is in order, I was not in a state to feel calm or feel balanced. Excuse me. Oh, and I'm thinking, yes, the thoughts came to me. Well, what if my only son was dead? I mean, the emotions, my dear audience, were so strong. I couldn't shake them. No posting in over 20-something hours. These kids post all the time, and he does. Not all the time, but it is not over 24 hours that he doesn't post. And I'm sitting there in you can feel it, whatever you want to call it, you can feel it. The reality, the illusion, all of it. And I'm sitting there in my stories. I'm sitting there. Now, we talked about that before, too. If there's more than 3 words together, it's a story. The ego loves stories. And I'm listening to all the stories. You're not the only mother who's lost a child. And, can you go on? What would you do? And first thing I say, I'm selling. I'm moving out of Oregon. I'm out of here. All of this thoughts. And then I came to practicing, trying to find something good in my son's death, my only child's death. Now I'm trying to find something good, because when I talk about practicing, I'm up here practicing. I'm not just telling you to practice. I practice in every moment. How do I find something good about my only child's death? And guess what? The universe gave me an answer. And that answer was this. well, he will not have to mourn for me. Well, he will not have to mourn for his mother if he dies before me. As a mom, I don't want him to feel any kind of hurt, any kind of pain. And I know all of that's a story, too. And he's going to feel and he's going to experience whatever he does, and it's going to be for his betterment. And when the universe gave me that answer, that if he died first, he would not have to mourn his mother, I took a lot of deep breaths, and I dropped my shoulders. Everything came over me like a warm blanket. Not too warm. And I started to relax. And I shared that story with my spiritual cousin, soulmate, whatever you want to call him. I shared that story with him. Same exactly what I just shared with you. And one of his challenges is death, because his mother died. It was hit by a drunk driver. And she didn't die right away. She suffered in that car. And so he has had, this was over 25 years ago now, maybe longer, 30 years ago now. And so he has had problems and issues and challenges with people that he loves close to him and thinking about their death and thinking about them dying. So when I shared that with him, now it was another, see, everything is connected. See, we're all connected, and all of this is in order. And when I shared that story with him, he was able to come to a different perspective about the people that he loved dying. I know it's a topic that people don't talk about, but it is a reality that happens. And because it's not, especially here in the U.S., because it's not talked about, there is a struggle that you see with everyone that has, not everyone, but with a lot of people, with the majority of people have when someone dies. I remember thinking when I was younger, oh, God, if my mother and father died, I don't know what I would do. I couldn't go on. And both of them are dead now. And life does go on. That is, I believe, a powerful story about perspective and the ability to shift your perspective and look at the same situation with different eyes, feel it with a different vibration. The second topic, we're talking about judgments. So interesting. One of the homework assignments that I give my students is a whole list of labels from, write down 3 words very quickly when you think about this title. When you think about the title of mother, you think about the title of father, husband, wife, children, sibling, teacher, doctor, scientist, homeless, actor, athlete, politician, and rapper. Those are the labels. Those are the titles. And I said, write 3 words that describe the following. So each description is unique to the person that is writing out the words. Now, some people don't like rappers, and so they write misogynistic, they write selfish, whatever they write. And politicians, I remember one of my students just wrote liar, 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 liar. So all of these judgments, because the homework is really an assignment to put a spotlight on how much do you judge, and are your judgments true? Because all politicians are not liars. All rappers are not misogynistic. All homeless people are not unhappy and filthy. All doctors are not brilliant. All science, so it's a reality check on what is true and what is not true. My point is, your judgments about anyone all reflect how you feel about yourself. So when you describe other people, especially in a negative way, within a negative context, you are really describing self. I know, I'm sorry. You are describing yourself. And that's a hard one to get, because I remember thinking that no, these people are not like me. I'm different, and let me throw this arrogance out. I'm better. I'm better than them. I'm not like them. Well, if you describe anyone with a negative label or judgment, that is who you are describing. You are describing self. It's a hard one to get. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it is the truth. And let's get to our avocados. One of the things that I find, especially when people find out, when I tell them my topic is happiness and how to experience more happiness, you know what I hear more than anything? I rarely hear, how can I? Oh, really, Rebecca? You teach about happiness? Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? How can you feel happier? I rarely get that question. You know what I get most of? The comment I get most? I would say 80% of the time is, I know somebody that needs that class. I know somebody else that needs to hear what you have to say. I know somebody else that could benefit from what you are talking about. It's never about, wow, I need the help. What information do you have? Listen, I'm telling you, even when I was run by the ego, even when the ego was my master, even when I remember noticing people and looking at people and saying, wow, there was only one lady that I remember. I'll never forget her. I was working at UPS. I think I was 20 years old. And her first name was Nancy. I don't remember her last name. But I remember seeing her, because we worked in the same office. And I remember seeing her. I said, she's always happy, and she's so, I never heard her raise her voice. She was just so kind and happy and pleasant. Just a wonderful. I really didn't understand it, because I was the opposite. I was up, I was down. And I kept looking at her, and I remember asking her, how can you be so happy all the time? How can you feel like you're at peace all the time? How do you do that? I wanted to know. I wanted some of that. I wanted to be that. I wanted to be at peace with life. I wanted to be like she was, that peaceful, calm vibration. But people don't ask me that. People don't ask me how. They always, not always, that's another statement that's not true. What I get a lot, and I actually had 3 people, I had 3 people this week tell me that they know someone else that would benefit from what I teach. Isn't that interesting? And with that is my lesson. Don't think that you or the people are the only one out there with lessons. That's my lesson. It's my lesson to accept everyone and to know that what I think is important is feeling content, being at peace with life and all that life brings, from the ups and the downs, it's not what everybody thinks is number one. They just don't. And that has to be okay with me. And I have to accept that, because acceptance of everyone else, how they do it, why they do it, is contributing peace to this planet. You want to change the world? Change yourself. Practice what adds to happiness and eliminate what subtracts from happiness. Where is my list? Where is my quick list? I have a list, and I keep adding to it. Let me just throw this out for people that have just listened to the show for the first time. Here we go. What subtracts from happiness? Blaming, and I'm just going to run through them, blaming anyone or anything for the way you feel. Comparing yourself to others. Noticing what someone else is doing. Now, that is huge. That is a cancer. Everybody, and that's not true too, I'm going everybody, but there are so many people noticing what other people are doing and making judgments about it and talking about it. Thinking anything is serious, thinking anything is important, wanting someone to think what you think is important is important. That's for all my people with the causes. Sharing bad news, expectations, giving power to words, attachments, living in the past, living in the future. All judgments subtract from happiness. Resisting what is, trying to control anyone or anything outside of yourself. Here's a fun one. Being embarrassed, getting embarrassed. What does that mean? I'm embarrassed. Well, the program is you get embarrassed, and the reason is because you care about what someone else thinks. What was this today? This was just today. Where was that picture that I took? It was I love it. Okay, it says, it's okay to live a life that others don't understand. I love that little quote. Needing to be right. Lack of personal growth. Now, the lack of personal growth is a real interesting one. That is same as lack of self-awareness. Because if I asked you, how are you different today than you were a month ago, could you give me an answer? And the only reason I'm asking the question is because self-awareness and monitoring self in every single moment is key to growth. Because there are some things that used to bother me 2 years ago when I moved to Oregon. And now guess what? They don't even register. That's growth. That's growth. If something that really bothered me and it doesn't register anymore, that means I have one less button. You know what I tell you, that if you have buttons that can be pushed, then it's up to you to get rid of your own buttons. So what adds to happiness? Surrendering to whatever is happening in the moment, being yourself, acceptance of all and of self, living consciously, being okay with uncertainty, allowing, trusting, letting go, choosing your perspective, choosing your focus. Let me talk about these people that we all notice and, what's wrong with them? The pointing the finger is always pointed out to someone else. One of the things that I had to accept is that there is a time for everybody to evolve, for everybody to grow. And sometimes it's not in this lifetime. My son used to have a problem with me saying that with separating people that are growing and people that are not growing. And so I had to come up with an analogy that we all are the same, which is we all are avocados. And here we go with the avocados. And this was supposed to be a short show. We all are avocados, okay? And you know the difference between an avocado that's not ripe and an avocado that's ripe. And so the people that, if you notice people that are out there and I was wanting other people to do something different, wanting other people to change, wanting other people to be more grateful, wanting other people to be more tolerant, all of that stuff, then you be more tolerant. You be more grateful. It's really about when it's time. You don't eat an avocado before it's ripe. I mean, it is hard as a rock. You eat an avocado when it's ripe. So everybody that's out there, I see everybody as avocados, and some of us are riper than others, and that's all it is to it. Some people it's time, and some people it's just not time. So that helps me with my practice of acceptance. When I talk about practicing, it's like anything else. You want to become more flexible, you have to practice stretching. You want better balance, you have to practice balance exercises. You want it to get stronger, you have to get in the gym and practice. Come on. It is the practice. It is the practice in every moment. It's not about what the moment brings you. It's about what you are practicing in every moment. Because if you are judging in this moment, trust me, you're going to be judging in your future moments. If you only can find one perspective, it's just this way, just this one way, and you can only see something one way, then I promise you, you're going to only be able to see same situations one way. There is a value, there is a growth, there is an expansion when you can change your perspective. And I didn't even know I would get to that point, my change of perspective with the story about my son. Come on now, that was, woo, broke me down all the way down. Questions? Any questions? I'm checking the emails. Any questions? See, Rebecca, how? Okay, that's something I have to answer off the air. But so that's the show today. This show, the purpose of Reality Spirituality Radio is to empower you and to let you know that you do have choices. You actually do, but choosing something different than what you've chosen in the past, year after year after year. If it's working for you, if whatever your choices are bring you peace, because that's what this show is about, how to experience peace regardless of what happens. Peace can be interchanged with happiness, contentment, how to experience that regardless of what happens is the point of the show. What? Let me just look over my notes. Yep. Oh, the last one I want to say. This is another question I get a lot, which is, how long did it take you? How long does it take? When can I? In this world of instant gratification, this practice takes time. If you're practicing balance, if you're practicing more flexibility, if you're practicing whatever, even if you're writing, practice being a landscaper. Everything takes practice. I met someone the other day, and she said she was on a TED Talk 2. And, of course, there's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of practice. The practice is, what do you prioritize? Are you committed to? Are you prioritizing wanting to be at peace? Or are you into and are you, addicted to the drama, the opposite of peace? Whatever you are in one moment is exactly, whatever you practice in your moments will be what you practice in your future moments. So when you practice acceptance, trusting, letting go, letting it flow, choosing your perspective, staying out of everybody's business, humbling the ego, being yourself, and a moment-by-moment commitment to wanting to be happier, you end up the world's only happiness specialist. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. That's RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. My Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. You can find some videos of me talking at different events on YouTube. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon. And my second book, Program for Happiness, will be out one of these days. It is coming out. I can feel it. But until next time, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You're always evolving. You're always changing. You're always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality with Rebecca L. Norrington. Have a conscious week.
Yeah. Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. You got a question for RLN? Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Oh, now we get real. Yeah, it's time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about.